We need another stool.
Definitely.
Okay, so this is what we're going to be using for the seat of our stool. This is a tractor seat, and this is not a reproduction or imitation of any kind. This is a legitimate tractor seat. It still came with like pieces of the actual tractor attached to it, so this thing is real. So we're going to have to trim all this stuff, cut this bolt off.
If anybody can tell, oh goodness, if anybody can tell us what this is from, let us know. This thing is a leveling jack for a trailer or a motorhome or something. I don't know what it is, but it was something I picked up at a surplus store for next to nothing. And it's got this giant Acme thread, so we're going to make an adjustable height stool with it using some of these parts.
So we wanted this stool to kind of have an industrial look. So we went through a lot of sketches and designs about sort of what we wanted it to look like. And we settled on this. These have 4 identical cuts of these. They're going to be the legs of the stool. So we've got those. And also, if you remember these, if you remember our steel flag project, these are the stripes just cut down the middle. But we're not going to waste these. We're going to use them.
That's right.
So, being that these stool legs are as oddly shaped as they are, and they don't really fit together, we kind of had to turn, rotate, bunch them up so that they would fit together like puzzle pieces. And it just gets us the maximum usage out of this sheet of steel. That way we don't waste so much. Holding on to your butts.
That looks like an overly complicated stool leg to me.
It does.
All right.
2 together, you get an A for awesome.
Very true.
The industrial shop stool is gluten-free. We're just grinding off this part. Why? Because it's chrome. And chrome doesn't really fit the style of this stool.
Tasty. We cut this little, basically just a decorative plate to kind of cover all this up on the top part of the adjustment thing. But this originally had 6 holes in it. So I punched this with 4 to go with the 4 legs. We just drilled a couple of fresh holes so it will look a little tidier, and then the legs will come out between those.
This is our leg. We kind of had to jig it up so that way it lined up perfectly with the actual spine of it itself. We'll weld this, and then we got to do that times 4.
Yeah, and doing those times 4 at a perfect 90-degree angle from each other might be a little tricky.
Okay, so we got a couple tacks on it, and you can kind of see the shape that we're going for here.
That is not even close, and it already looks cool.
Looks cool. 3 down, 1 to go. This one's not welded on yet.
Okay, we added this ring on here, which will eventually act as our footrest. But you can kind of see the whole thing starting to take shape. And then this will act as our height adjustment.
Okay, now that we have the basic structure of the frame put together, as you can see, everything moves around too much because 12 gauge steel is not exactly the thickest material that we could find. Yeah. But the way we're going to reinforce that is we're just going to take these leftover steel bars from our flag and kind of bend them into the shape of the actual frame itself and kind of reinforce it. And then once we do that, it'll look a bit something like this.
Yeah. And that'll give it a ton of extra rigidity, and it's super stiff. So if we do that on all 4 corners, it'll be fantastic.
Okay, so to bend or merge pieces onto the main frame, we're going to be doing that with just a homemade jig, and that should work just fine for what we're doing.
And it's a bent. Okay, so we bent the part close to the right radius here, and Sam's just marking it. We're leaving the parts intentionally long and then just cutting them off after the fact. It's a lot easier than trying to make them the perfect length on the first try.
Okay, so we got the bottom part bent, and it's actually fitting really perfectly.
Yeah,
so
it's a pretty nice radius.
We have it clamped down, and then now we're going to bend the top here.
Which is a little bit easier to do.
Yeah, it's a lot easier than the bottom.
Yeah, it's a nice.
Because you don't have to worry about angle so much.
It's a nice gentle radius. That camera angle made your hand look enormous. Ah! So these pieces that we bent up, we want it to meet up with this flat ring that we put on there. So this will kind of go like that. And then that seam will get welded up and we'll grind it smooth, something like that, to give it a nice smooth transition. And this will be our footrest area. Sam is massaging this radius a little bit to try to get it to fit on there a little better. See how this goes.
Really close.
It's
also a little spider friend joining us.
What's up, Spidey? Yeah, it's getting closer. Takes a little hammering and tweaking and bending to get them dialed in. Okay, to make this gentle swoopy one on the bottom takes a very high-tech tool, which Sam is demonstrating right now.
It's only $19.95 plus shipping and handling.
Yes, it is called a knee.
What do you think, Tim? Oh, you don't even care. Hey, not cool. Back off. Dang chicken.
What's up, guys? Typically we use, we're using a MIG welder with shielding gas, a 75-25 mix shielding gas, but we started this on a weekend and realized we were out of gas. So I switched over to flux core, which has basically, it's kind of a hollow wire with flux inside of it, and that's what helps protect the weld puddle. The advantage of that is it's kind of simple and, easy, and it's a cheap way to get into welding. You don't have to keep buying shielding gas. But the disadvantage is it makes some pretty ugly welds. So might have to do a little bit of extra grinding on this one.
And that is okay.
Maybe you can say that again.
Okay, guys. Welder vision.
See how this goes. Okay, I'm taking a shot of this for no other reason than it's actually a nice looking flux core weld, which I've only got about 1 or 2 of in my entire life. So I'm taking advantage of.
Shazam!
What was that?
I said Shazam!
Shazam.
Sorry. If you're looking to do something in quarantine, watch the Andy Griffith Show.
Okay, so this ring is nowhere near strong enough just as a single piece of flat material to support any real weight. So what we're doing is taking more of this homemade flat bar and just welding it around the perimeter here. Just putting a tack every couple of inches, bend it, put another tack, bend it some more, put another tack. Then I'll go back in afterwards and weld it all solid and grind it smooth so it looks nice. Just wanted you to see how this was progressing. Here it is after a little bit of grinding. Got to do a few touch-ups, but
We're thinking about giving this whole frame here a finish, and we thought a cool way to do that would be to use some liquid gun bluing. And we kind of like the basic grinded down look of the frame, but to kind of iron all that out, we kind of like the black, we like the grinded, so we're kind of splitting the difference with the blue. So
yeah, we like the natural steel look, but some of the areas that were grinded heavily look a little bit too bright. So this kind of helps tone them down, and hopefully that picks up on camera. That really shiny silver surface just gets muted out and dulled down, and it still gives us that rough kind of antique-y look we're going for. It's just not quite so shiny and perfect.
all right, we finished the bluing process, and now we're just spritzing it with some water just to neutralize it.
And we both kind of determined that if it develops a little bit of rust, that's actually fine. Might actually look
Pretty cool. And it's going to rain, at least we think. Maybe we'll just leave it out and see what happens. Tim agrees with us.
So the next tricky thing we have to figure out is how to attach this guy to our post. And the top of this is actually threaded. I mean, the obvious idea would be to just put a bolt through there and into this. But that would be an awful lot of leverage on one little tiny spot. So I think what we're going to have to do is make some kind of a plate that we can weld some little gussets to that would then attach to the top of this post. So that's next on the agenda.
Theoretically, it should work.
Theoretically.
So we drilled out a few holes in our seat to line up with our plate.
A couple extras anyways.
Yeah, these two are already there.
Sam's just transferring the positions of the holes on our seat to that plate, and then we'll drill them out.
While we're brainstorming with the plate in there, he's getting everything kind of started up. But I just wanted to show you guys, we left this out here for about, I don't know, 45 minutes. And because of the gun bluing, just having that acid in it, we left it out for just 45 minutes. Being as that just rained, the air is still pretty humid out here, and it rusted the frame, and it actually looks really cool. So I think we're gonna leave it like that. Just the combo of the gun bluing and the rust looks amazing. How come whenever I'm trying to talk, y'all come in here and interrupt me? I'm talking to you, Tim.
Okay, here's our plate that we made to kind of act as the interface between this thing and this thing. And basically what I've got here is I bolted the plate to the actual post itself because it had some threads inside of it through the plate, and then I'm using that to get everything centered. And then we got a piece of that same 1.5-inch tubing that we used on the base, except it was a little too big. So at least temporarily, although maybe permanently, I don't know, we made some little plastic shims to kind of fill up that gap. And then we'll weld here and maybe put a couple of gussets or something just to give it some additional strength. We're going to use some brass hardware for bolting everything together. Why? Because it's cool. We got to put together, and the only thing we don't like is the color of this bolt. So I ground it off a little bit. We're going to try to throw a little bluing on it and see if it'll darken it up so it's not, doesn't stick out like a sore thumb.
And it's done. We are really happy with how this turned out. We thought it was really cool that a tractor seat that could be maybe 100 years old could pair so well with a base that only came into existence just a few days ago. It's a really cool pair.
Yeah, they look like they belong together. Does it really make sense to make something like this? Probably not.
Negative.
I mean, money-wise, we have hardly any. I think it's like $12 worth of stuff.
Probably.
So, especially, you could probably go around to Harbor Freight and buy you one of these guys, a shop stool, for 30 or 40 bucks. But that's not why we do this. We did it because we wanted one. It's cool. It was a challenge to build it. And there's one of them on planet Earth.
The only
and
one
it's right there.
in existence.
So that's why we did it.
But thanks for watching, guys. If you want to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any of our future projects, make sure you click up there so you don't miss out on that. Also, to see our last video, click over here. And again, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.
See ya.